All right, so we're diving deep this week into the upcoming Premier League match.
Okay.
Tottenham versus Newcastle at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium.
Yeah.
And we've got some excerpts here focusing on recent team performance and player stats. And it's interesting because you look at the odds makers in Brido. Newcastle are actually the favorites going into this one, which is interesting because Tottenham has a pretty strong home record historically.
Yeah.
But I think when we dig into some of these sources, we'll kind of get a sense of why that is.
Yeah, I think what's interesting here is you've got these two kind of clashing narratives right now where Tottenham are really battling injuries. They're struggling to find form, and Newcastle on the other hand are like riding this wave of momentum and has been so solid defensively.
Yeah, and just to put a point on the injury woes, Destiny Udogie is the latest to join the injury list for Tottenham, and they're having to play guys like Radu Dragain who are carrying knocks. They're not fully fit, and so you can see how thin the squad is becoming right now.
Yeah, and that Ame contrast with the start of the season for them when they won 7 of the first 8 games. You would thought at that point that they were a lock for a top 4 finish, and now fast forward to today, and they've only won 1 of their last 7 at home.
Yeah, it makes you wonder if they didn't push those guys back from injury a little too quickly.
Yeah,
and try to rush them back, and now it's coming back to bite them. But it just makes Newcastle's form even more impressive because you look at them; they're 8 points ahead of Tottenham right now. They're really looking like contenders for a Champions League spot.
Absolutely, they are playing with so much confidence, especially defensively. I mean, 3 clean sheets and 3 wins in 10 days.
Yeah,
you can't argue with that. I mean, and last week beating Manchester United was massive.
Yeah,
and historically too. That was the first time they've had 4 straight top flight wins,
right,
without conceding a goal since 2012.
So speaking of history, let's kind of get into the head-to-head record between these two, because I think that's where things get even more interesting, because you've got Newcastle who actually have had Tottenham's number lately. I mean, they've won 4 of the last 5 matches.
Yeah, and it's not just a fluke either.
Yeah.
They've tactically they've approached these games against Tottenham very well, done a great job forcing Tottenham into mistakes and then hitting them quickly on the counterattack.
Tottenham did smash them 4-1 last season, though.
You
can't discount that.
True, that was a dominant performance by Tottenham, no doubt. But even with that outlier, Newcastle have won 5 of their last 10 away matches at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, and as traveling favorites this season, their record's excellent: 4 wins from 8 games.
Yeah, so you've got these two teams kind of heading in opposite directions. You've got the historical data that shows Newcastle having the edge. But matches aren't played on paper. So let's talk about some of the players that could swing this one. And for Tottenham, I'm really interested to see how Dominic Solanke performs. He had a monster game against Newcastle last season. 3 goals and an assist.
4 goal involvements in a single match. That's incredible.
Yeah,
and for the listeners out there who might not be familiar with that term, a goal involvement is any time a player either scores a goal or provides an assist. And Solanke was directly responsible for all 4 of Tottenham's goals that day.
Wow.
And then on the Newcastle side, Alexander Isak is the danger man. He's been on fire lately. He recently became the 3rd fastest Newcastle player ever to hit 50 Premier League goal involvements.
And he seems to have Tottenham's number too. I mean, scoring 5 goals against them.
Yeah.
In just 4 appearances.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, he just seems to come alive in these big matches. And so to kind of wrap up this deep dive, I have to bring up this one crazy stat that really jumped out at me.
Right, what is it?
Matches with Eddie Howe as Newcastle's manager against Tottenham averaged 4.67 goals. I mean, does that basically guarantee a goal fest?
I mean, it certainly suggests we're in for an entertaining match. I wouldn't necessarily say guarantees a high-scoring affair, but it does highlight the attacking potential on both sides.
Yeah. It's funny, you've got Nottingham, Newcastle, who have been so defensively sound, going up against a Tottenham team that, even with the injuries still, has a lot of firepower. I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Exactly. You could see Newcastle's defense holding firm and nicking a goal on the counter. Or maybe even with the injuries, Tottenham's attacking talent shines through and they put a few past Newcastle. It's tough to call.
It really is. So there you have it. We've explored the contrasting form of these two clubs, dug into their head-to-head history, highlighted the key players to watch. What do you think will happen on Sunday? Will Newcastle keep their streak going? Or will Tottenham use that home advantage to get back on track? Let us know your predictions. This one's going to be a blast.